We're
on?
live. We're live.
We're live
We're
now.
live. I think I just
So,
break my neck. I'm getting old.
how old are you? Like
26.
26.
What?
Oh, God. Right, I can't believe it. I can't believe
We have finished.
we have finished a series.
We
Round
have.
of
I'm
applause
very
for
proud of us.
us. I'm proud of us. Still not finished Stillborn from February, but we'll just forget that that exists.
We don't discuss that anymore.
Oh God, I've just noticed that he's finished his second one as well.
Yeah, I know. And then he was like, don't read this if you haven't finished the first book. And I was like, darn it. And I actually
Yeah.
kind of need to pre-order it so it can be signed like my first one is. But I haven't read the first one.
I've
I've
got
read
200
some of
pages.
it. I know I like some of it. That's good enough.
But we finally finished this God of Gods. Um, I was surprised that this was a shorter than.
I didn't like it. Not the book. I liked the book. I didn't like that the book was shorter. I
Yeah,
felt like
normally the
it should
last
have
book of
been
the
longer.
series, yeah, you want the last
Yeah.
book of the series be the longest and like, just, yeah. But what did you rate it?
Four.
See, I rated it a
One.
5.
See, I was on the fence about this because I was thinking maybe it should be a five because she tied everything up really beautifully, and I was amazed that I had little to no questions at the end of it, which doesn't really happen. But there were parts within the book that annoyed me. And I was like, I can't, I can't give you 5 stars because I wasn't. It wasn't like the first book for me. I didn't come away from it going, oh my gosh, what's happened? This is amazing. I really like the writing style. Da 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 da. I
Yeah.
just, I don't know. I was, I think to be fair, and this is partly again my commitment issues with series. I was just very glad it was over. I was like, I've done it. Yes.
Give yourself a pat on the back for finishing the book.
Yeah,
Um,
you mentioned that part where Rachel's like, I've done it, and there's no one here to hug. How I felt.
so to gather my thoughts about the series and the book and everything is it's a lot.
It's a lot. It is. It's very
It's
cleverly done, I think.
yes. Yeah. So, once again, I didn't make notes. I think this is going to be a series that now that we've done it and I've read it once, I could go back and take my time with each individual one and like tab and take
Yeah.
notes. I think that's going to be the kind of series because I tried to tab this as I went along first time round, but then I kept by the time I'd like tabbed one bit, I had to like reread parts because I've like missed bits and stuff. So it's
Yeah.
not the kind of thing you can tab on first read.
Mhm.
So I am gonna go back and tab and I might pick up even more bit things because than the first time round because even if you read this slower than how we've read it, it's a lot packed in at one
Yeah.
for say that there's like what the biggest book has what 700 pages. Um, it's never there's never a lull or
No.
like a moment where you're just like, this is boring. Can you stop chatting and just get on and do something? There was none of that. To see how big the books are, normally you get a period of time where they're all just standing around not doing much of anything.
Yeah.
Whereas with this, there's always
Mm.
something happening or something being said. But I think that might partly be down to the fact of the way that it's narrated, the way that it's
Yeah.
you've got your two different narrators, and then especially in this one, like the banter that like there were like little snippy bits,
Mm.
they like started bantering and like sniping each other a little bit, um, and like the footnotes. I think that that sort of helped move the story along as well.
Yeah.
Um,
I think this might have been my favorite Kieran out of
yes,
all of it. I mean, this and the first Kieran are tied, I think.
yeah,
But he was less whiny, which was a comment I made. a lot about the other books.
Yeah, he was he was very whiny and sort of woe with me. Um,
Yeah,
and like, why is this being done to me? Which, you can probably kind of understand.
yeah, no, I get that, but some of it, I was like,
Yeah,
really?
this
Like,
is not the
we've
time.
had this conversation 10 pages ago. Why are we having it again?
Yeah, yeah, I get that
But
bit.
otherwise, I thought it was really good. And I said I'm pretty sure I sent Kate a message going, "With this relationship, just go away." I was just not interested in it. I just wanted to know all the other things,
Yeah,
like the little bits, like him, obviously learning how to control himself and not burn down the world was quite interesting. But when
yeah.
he was like, "Oh, Therese or Janelle is just there, and I just wanna," and I was like, I don't care. Can we go back to what we're discussing, please? Saving the world would be great.
See, I did like their relationship. I did
Mm.
think that it was great that there was a side of the story where it was talking about a relationship that's not really a conventional type of relationship, and it was any type of relationship was okay. Do
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I
And
liked that.
it was a non-event,
Yeah,
but it did sort of like at times when the world was literally falling apart, and his Therese just like, yeah, I came here just so we could have sex because I was
yeah,
hoping it was gonna happen, and then Kieran was like, I'm not really here. It was like, mm,
yeah. I will tell you what to. At that part, I think that was this book. Because he was like, "I would tell you what to do," and and I was just like,
yeah,
"Nope, keep going,
yeah,
go away,
yeah.
just next."
I mean, I don't mind romances in books, and I know that in these types of books that we like to read, when it
Mhm.
comes to sort of fantasy, it there is always going to be an element of the world is ending or something massive is happening and
Yeah.
there's relationships going on. But when you literally can't physically be around your partner because you might blow him, like disintegrate him, and
You might
literally
blow them up.
Relis Vars trying to conduct this ritual to like get rid of what you've now know is 99% of the human population. That whole thing was like a fucking mind
Mhm.
boggle, wasn't it? And he's like, "Oh well, no, let me just go and tease him," and like I was like, "No, not now, not now, please."
Time and place.
Yeah,
This is neither. Yeah.
yeah, I did sort of think that at some point. I'm just like, "This is cute, this is," but maybe just wait till you've saved the world, and you
Wait
can
till you have
actually,
a body again.
yeah. Oh my god, oh yeah, that was a
Like,
lot.
no.
But seeing him struggle to control his powers that he's now
Mm.
got, and the evil wanting to take over him, like just destroy, destroy, and him trying to fight against that thing that was just like, just let yourself go and just destroy everything around you. And he really, really, really wanted to be good. I liked that,
Mm.
like that battle that we had going on like the whole time.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, what did you think about the other characters coming back?
I am not a massive fan of respawning, regenning.
Yeah,
If you die, you die.
yeah,
And now I understand that every now and again it's a really good tool to have. It's really good shocking factor, that sort of thing. But I think I said this in the first book as well, and I was like, well, when no one really dies, like you just don't really the deaths aren't as impactful, so you don't feel tied to anyone in particular in that way because you're like, oh well, they'll just come back, and that kind of ruins things for me a little bit,
yeah,
if I'm
yeah.
honest.
So we'll just go to the comments because we've got a couple here. We've got Emma.
Hello, hello.
Hello. I was begging for an extra 200 pages. Yeah, it could have done with it as
Yeah,
long as those 200 pages were more of the battles that we got. Like reading about the
yeah,
battles, um, they were great, and like because I've said this before, like in my mind when I um read a battle scene, it's playing out in my head like a movie scene. So when they were like the dragons versus the people, and you could just
Yeah.
imagine these massive things in the sky and fighting, like that was great. That whole thing, I really enjoyed that, and I could have done with the battle scenes being extended a little bit.
Yeah. I
So
felt the
we've
same,
got
to be fair.
full fight scenes and like the full impact
Yeah.
of, because in the grand scheme of things, when you look at the book as a whole, to say that the massive thing was like the confrontation between him and Relos it didn't last that long.
No. I was going to say, how did you find the pacing of this book?
um, it was a lot of build up, but it did seem to rush the end a bit.
Yeah, I felt like that. I felt like it didn't have a lot of payoff. And although the plan at the end is semi-genius, to be fair,
Yeah,
I don't know, like it was also very much, and I like that sort of thing. I liked when it was Relos, Relos killed whoever the woman was. I'm terrible with names. And then it was actually Doc who had Chainbreaker and like all of
yes,
that
yeah, the
misdirection.
manipulate,
I
yeah,
I really enjoyed that, but for that scene as well, like the fight scenes, I was like that could have had more. I don't know what you would pack it out with, but I
yeah.
think it definitely needed a little bit more. And then everyone just stood back up again at the end, and I was like, oh, okay, great.
I loved moments, but felt there was more left open. Yeah, the some of the ending bits was left open, but we'll talk about that in a second. The last
Mm.
chapter had me major sobbing though. It was a very sweet ending, but
I
also
liked the ending.
a bittersweet ending, to be fair though.
Yeah,
I might
that
be
was
the
what
man.
that's what I voice noted you guys about when I was like, something just happened, but I can't tell you because it's a spoiler.
I might be the minority, but the that was more majority. I might be the majority that was more obsessed with the romances, but I get what you mean for a heavy fantasy like this. It needs to have so much. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. So it was just. I mean, I did like the fact that we didn't find out the plan until it was executed.
yeah,
And we found out it wasn't sort of like we're gonna do this, and then it, because you know,
mm.
you built up the tension. When something happened, you're like, oh shit. And
Yeah,
then they're like, oh no, misdirect. That finding out as you read it,
mm.
um, and as the plan unfolded, I really enjoyed that aspect of it. Um, but there's so many people and names in here. I don't even know what I'm talking about with my names. But there was, who was the woman that was the that had been put? She begin with a T. Um,
Diana
is that
or
who was the emperor who
Cyenzo.
yeah, like, she was a savage. She was just
To be fair, I love her. I think she's bloody brilliant, especially for like the part where she kind of adopted that kid
she
and was just
reluctantly
using him as
adopted the
bait. And I and it was like everyone's like that's so harsh, and I was like it's bloody genius actually. To be fair,
yeah.
it's not ethical, no, but for what she was doing, also it's fantasy. Like nothing really in fantasy is very ethical. Got to be honest.
No.
Um, but the fact that she adopted him afterwards was quite nice and carried on to look after him. But I did like the part right at the end where they said, "Oh, Tyanzo adopted the kid." Although it says that she adopted him, I'm sure she's not looking after him. I'm sure like the servants are, but I was like, but she still did. Like she's giving him a chance. Not
Yeah,
being mean about her.
the thing that got me right here was that the first thing that came to her mind was like,
Mm.
we need something to distract him and put him off his game. So let's use this innocent child
Who has
as
possibly just watched his
leverage.
parents burn.
Yeah, who's just been through this traumatic experience, and let's just see if we can. push our luck.
See if my dad's actually alive.
I was that bit was kind of like,
I was a
yeah,
bit confused at the thought process for bringing Gadris back. I, apart
yeah,
from her adopting that kid, I was going through it like, what is the point of this? Why is he back?
yeah.
And
I
I
felt that
still
about
feel
a
like
lot of
that
people, to
after.
be fair.
Yeah, to be fair, but it was one of them where I was like, Gadris, like the part where she started to like, she found a solid stone and there was black hair and it proved that it was part of her line. I liked that build up, but it didn't go where I wanted it to go. I think this is another thing that added to my 4-star tally, to be fair, because there was a lot of things where I was like, that could have been so much more, but it wasn't. And Gadris was a big one of them. It's like, yeah, he's back, but why? I don't know. Couldn't tell you. But he's back.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, oh, I didn't feel shocked for his return, to be fair, because it was like obvious hints were dropped all the beginning, so shock factor was just met. So yeah, um, but it's strange though, because it's like you were saying, when people died, obviously we all know like the only person who actually stayed dead was Javan.
Yeah,
Um,
and Sergio.
yeah, and said yeah, but I still didn't mourn their deaths when it happened, because I was like, oh, they're
Yeah,
gonna get brought back. They're gonna get brought
yeah,
back
because you're
because
so
they'll find a way.
desensitized
They'll
to
find a
it.
loophole. They'll find some way of doing it.
But I think that's the difference between the deaths in the first book and the deaths in the last book. So the first book we watched Sergio Moria die and proper dead die, and they didn't come back, and we weren't really aware of this whole coming back thing. So their deaths were a lot more, in my opinion, emotional because there was
Yeah,
no way of them coming back. And then obviously Kieran, throughout that book, is with the Black Brotherhood and learning about resurrection and stuff. But they didn't even get a chance to come back. So I feel like their deaths were the most traumatic and emotional for me in this series
yeah,
because they didn't come back and we didn't know they could come back. And then I'm pretty sure, near enough, everyone else who died came back.
yeah.
I mean,
Just trying to think of it. Yeah, yeah, they
the
did.
original Emperor didn't come back, but Gadris came back. What was the demon bloke's name? Yeah,
Um,
that was also a G.
Jareth,
Gareth.
Jareth. Yeah,
He was a demon. He
yeah.
came back.
Yeah. That's I don't understand that bit. So if maybe I've missed something, and maybe this isn't a
Mm.
5 stars.
Sorry.
Maybe I'm rethinking
You
this.
said
But
something
no, the more that
far.
we're talking about it, the more I'm thinking it was still really good and I still really enjoyed it. But thinking about it, when there was obviously Janelle and Jareth, or whatever I pronounce it, Jareth,
Yeah,
are demons, and she'd changed the ritual to kill all the demons to make them like dead. So
yeah,
99% of the human population didn't die.
yeah.
Um, but then they both came back.
Hmm. I did like, however, in the last book, the way he was brought back, because it was that whole hinted at in the lighthouse. There's a fifth member. We don't know who it is.
Yeah,
No one else is aware that there's a fifth member, but I know there's a fifth member. That sort of thing. I liked that. But yeah, I don't know. I feel ever since reading the first book, funnily enough, because it's a series and that's the order in which you read, I don't feel like anything has held up to the first book, in my opinion.
see
And
the book that had the biggest impact on me after the first book was the book where Theron died. Was that book 3 or 4?
I don't know. Oh, I like that comment from Emma that she's just sent. I agree with that. That would have been good.
Yeah, yeah.
I
But
like that.
all the demons were killed because she changed the ritual, so he couldn't have stayed alive as a
But there
demon.
could have been like a miss, a typo.
All the demons except this guy.
Just guy. Like, hey guys, I'm Smokey.
Yeah,
Um,
when Theron died, that's the only time I've
mm,
had a proper emotional impact. And then when she brought him back, then I was kind of like, I'm not gonna get emotional about any more characters.
yeah,
So when Javan died, that
she
was
was already
quite an
dead.
emotion. It was quite an emotional thing. I was like, nah, she's not dead. She's, but I was like, oh
Yeah,
no. And then when was it Taja? Well, who's the partner? I forgot the
Talia.
name. Talia, that's it. And when she was like, oh no, she's definitely gone, sort of thing. There's no way of bringing
Mm.
her back. I was like, oh, so she is dead. And then I was kind of a
Um,
bit sad, but
you
the
dead or
impact,
dead?
the impact wasn't there anymore because I was
Yeah.
like, oh, so she is dead. But they
Mm.
thought that about Theron for a while, and then we got a loophole around that. So it wasn't until I
Yeah.
closed the book when I was like, yes, Giovanni's dead. It's like, no
Dead
coming
than a
back
dead
now
thing.
because the books have ended.
Yeah, there's nothing more coming. Um,
She's dead.
yeah, I liked how she killed Theron as well. Like that's quite a probably
Yeah, it
like
was
a sick thing to
traumatic,
say,
wasn't it?
but yeah, it was, and it was just Maya, who's not Maya, and I can't remember her actual name, just standing over him,
Glinda?
screaming, "I'm
No, not
sorry," and I
Glinda.
was like, Jesus, a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, I cried at that. That for me, I should have
Mm,
known. I should have known that, but I cried at that. Um,
mm. What a
hello.
waste of tears. Hello.
Um, for me, the third book will always hold a candle, but fifth is also so good.
That's
Yeah,
Memory of Souls, and that's the biggest one, isn't it? I feel like a lot
yeah,
happened in that.
you did, you
But
did.
I won't be able to pinpoint until I reread all of them again, I think,
Yeah, yeah.
because it's a lot to take in.
Yeah, definitely. I'm gonna be rereading it. Darren should have stayed dead, even though I love Javansa so much. Out of all of them, there was no way it would be fair plot wise for her to live. Yeah,
Mm,
that is true. But what did Darren bring to the table, really?
I don't really know. What did
Other
he
than
bring
like
to the table?
scolding his son for, you know,
Where is my son?
yeah.
Where is my son? I don't know, mate. He's currently trying not to burn things up. Um,
It's trying not to destroy the world whilst in Volcross body.
mm. I've just seen that someone has joined. The person Skylar who we've just said hi to, and they have said that they haven't started the series. Probably not a good live stream for you to watch, my friend.
Yeah, this is
Um,
last in the series.
we're at the end. We love that you've joined us. However, we're currently mid slate, and it's getting brutal.
Spoilers
You
galore.
should die. You should die. Everyone should die.
Although Talia's reaction brought me, but I feel we needed much more reaction.
Is
Yeah,
it really bad though that I'm like, now Javon is dead, Talia can find herself a lovely human being,
yeah,
because there was ever since that scene in the, I think it was the last one that was aggressive, like assault level.
yeah.
I don't like I don't like Javon anymore, and I know she was trying to do it to like prove a point of like why you shouldn't love me, but that is not what we do. We have
No,
words, and words are good enough.
yeah,
You don't have to like physically assault someone to
yeah.
get your point across. And ever since then, I'm like, I don't like you. Like, in my opinion, you don't love Talia as much as you say you do, because if you did, you wouldn't have done that. And I
100%.
was
When they first
very
got
uncomfortable.
together, I was like, oh my god, this is so cute. Another queer
Yeah,
relationship. All
yeah,
wrecked, love it.
dying. Her
Yeah.
lying there thinking she's dying. I love you. And everyone's
that,
stood there trying not to cry.
that was one part that like made me laugh out loud. I was just like, oh my god. You
I was
could just
cackling in my
see it.
car on the way to work when
It
I
was
listened to that.
great.
It was
Like,
great. It's
oh,
brilliant.
oh, she's not dead because she's been healed, but she's just lying
Yeah,
there. Yeah, it's slightly
yeah. She
embarrassing.
doesn't know that she's not dead.
Yeah, another one. She's not dead.
Yeah,
She was.
yeah.
She lived.
Another one. But with that one, I liked that because she didn't die. She got
Yeah.
injured and then magic healed her. Now that I understand because in fantasy that happens all the time.
Yeah.
It's the reincarnation stuff all the time.
Yeah. There
Like,
needs to be a point where they were literally saying, because Dana was gone, and Javan was death, wasn't she?
mm,
Yeah. Because Thane was gone and Javan hadn't come into her full powers yet, because she'd literally just been told she was the new Thane. Um, that she wasn't able to like transfer souls and stuff the way that the other Thane did. But then she ended up doing
mm.
that anyway.
I really
And
feel like there should be a 3 strike and you're out rule.
yeah, for me it was just kind of like there needs to be. We all know that this is not the real world, but there needs to be some
Mm.
kind of limit as to like
Yeah,
there needs to be some
it
kind
needs.
of stakes. Like when someone dies,
Yeah, you die.
it would make sense that because Thane and not Thane, Javan and Talia had just been
Mm.
told that they were the new Thane and I can't remember the other one. Um, that they didn't have
Lady
the
Luck,
full. Yeah,
Tarja.
they didn't have the full powers yet, so there were certain things they weren't able to do. That to the whole story makes sense. So
Yeah,
yeah, you're just coming into your power, so you can't do these massive soul transferring spells and or like things that make sense. But then all of a
yeah,
sudden, she's plucked up just enough um,
yeah. It's kind of like a
to do
leveling
it.
system. It's like you're currently like a level newbie, and all of a sudden you're a grandmaster. And I don't know how you did it because there's no grafting.
Yeah, exactly. So to me,
It
it was
makes
just
sense.
kind of like very convenient for those sort of situations. It needs to be a little bit less convenient. And don't get me wrong, love a happy
Yeah.
ending. I love a happy ending, but
Oh no, I like a unhappy ending.
see, I do,
Chaotic and psychotic, all rolled into one little short parcel. That is.
yeah. And as much as I do like Janelle, if she'd have died and stayed died dead, it
I
would have
wouldn't
been
have
fine.
minded.
Him and Therese could have still got married. They were planning on getting married anyway.
Yeah.
They could have still got married and had their
But
relationship.
would they have? Because I really liked the like tensiony bit between not between Kieran and Therese, but the typical way the relationship would go, which would be Therese going to do the changing of the leave ceremony and then becoming a female, and him being like, "I will never do that. I will never do that." And I quite liked that because it's kind of challenging those relationship dynamics still and kind of being like, well, no, in theory, you still need the male and the female when Therese was very much like, no, we don't.
No.
And I quite like
Yeah.
seeing that.
Yeah. Very much so. Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely worth giving a go if you don't mind being confused for 99.9% of a book
Oh,
series
God,
in
yeah.
general.
You'll put down a book and go, what did I just read? In a good
kind of
way, but
kind of like Gideon the Ninth,
I
which is
haven't
another
read
book.
that.
See, that is great, and it's not romance, so I think you
Have you
might
got
enjoy.
the special editions, like Tangent? Yeah, because I was going to buy them, but then I was like, well, will I actually read the series? Probably not. So I decided not
It's
to.
very confusing. It is very, very confusing, but so good. She removed 60,000 words of Kieran and Reloth's previous history, and I felt we did because,
I feel like that would have given us more stakes because I don't know
yeah,
if you felt this way, but did you feel like Kieran and Renathar were actually brothers? Because I got none of that.
no,
No.
no,
You could have
it
literally put them
you were
in a room
told.
and said they met today, and I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, you were told that they were brothers and, they spent all this time together in past lives and blah, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah, blah. And it was like, oh, yeah, okay. So at the end, when he was really upset that he wasn't able to get through to his brother,
Mm.
and he wasn't able to turn the tides and make him realize his mistake and ended up having
Yeah.
to destroy his brother. When he was breaking down at that and got really upset at that, I was like, I don't feel this.
Yeah,
I
because I
I
don't
don't
feel
feel they
that
had it.
tie.
Yeah, they spent the
I feel
whole
like,
5 books arguing.
yeah, literally. I feel like the only real time that we saw them being brothers was the flashback to the first ritual that made them turn into dragons and the like.
Yeah.
And even that was quite far fetched because I didn't feel the brotherly vibe from them. I kind of felt the high school rivalry kind of clique vibe
Yeah.
rather than siblings. And yeah, that didn't help either.
But because this is so much of like flashbacks and stuff, they could have
Mhm.
done with a flashback of when, like, more flashbacks of when they were brothers and when they got on, like, or when they were building that
Yeah.
relationship, so that you could see that over the thousands and thousands of years that they've been trying to redo this ritual and
Mm.
fix the mistakes that they've made and stuff, um, that they'd slowly grown apart and that the relationship that was so strong before was no longer a strong relationship. If that had been shown, then when he
Yeah.
had to finally sort of trick his brother into killing himself,
Mm.
and destroying himself, then that would have been more of an impact for the end of the book
Yeah.
for me.
I agree.
And then I'd have been
No, I
like, oh
think.
my god, he's really, really lost his brother.
Mm.
That's
Yeah, there's not another life after this. And I feel like again, it's like what you said earlier. There's no stakes in it. But for that relationship, there was no real stakes in it, or I didn't feel any.
yeah,
And that was something else. Yeah. See, all of these things are like four.
yeah. I think overall the series would still be a 5-star series because 3 out of the 5 books were 5 stars. Because I loved the last one.
It's a
The
4-star series for me because the only one that I rated 5 was the first book. But I apparently seem to be getting very picky with my 5. Who'd have
see,
thunked it? Not me.
it would have thunked it.
Hmm.
See, I'm not going to be using Corpal next year because I'm that bitch who will adjust my numbers to fit how I feel about a book. So
Yeah, I
if I
agree.
say a book's 5 stars and then I put it through a Corpal and it says it's 4, and I'm like, nah, it's 5, and I'll just change my
Yeah,
numbers to make it a 5. So for me, using Corpal is really irrelevant, really irrelevant because I got vibes anyway and how it's
yeah.
made me
I
feel.
think I might adjust my core pile system and delete all the numbery bit that calculate it. Just have where I put what my rating is because I like core pile for the fact that I type up a little bit at the end of how I felt.
Yeah.
Um, and that thing we've gone on a bit of a tangent, but
No, but I think, do you know what? I should have used it for it because um, it's easy to forget the way you feel when you just finish a book, in it.
yeah,
So, and like your thoughts on things, but the series as a whole is brilliant. It's so well written, and
it is cleverly done. I don't know
it,
how she kept all of those threads in line in her head
oh god,
because the whole book, the whole series just confused me from day one near enough.
yeah, the
But we got there in the end.
the fact that she brought it all together in the end
Mm,
was great. But like I said, it could have done with a few more dead people, um, and
yeah.
and just yeah. So maybe if Janelle didn't come back, or maybe if Theron was actually dead, and Doc didn't need to come back. It was just kind of like,
Mm,
I know in the end it was Doc that helped them with the whole plan, and it was him that you know what I mean.
yeah.
But I mean, surely they could have found another way around doing that, without
You'd have
having to
thought.
bring more people back to life.
Yeah.
But um, yeah, it's I don't know. What did you think of? Oh, do you know what we've not even mentioned? Count.
Mm,
What did you think
Town.
of
Oh, and
their
Galen.
not relationship because Count refused to have one with him, but if I with Count he was struggling to accept that he had any feelings for Galen. And
Mm.
I liked seeing that side of things as well. So whereas other people were very much like, I like who I like men, women. I'll call myself
Yeah.
a hare or a stallion, a mare or a stallion, whatever. But
Yeah.
Cam were very much like the way that I've been brought up. This is not a thing. Like
Yeah.
this is bad, and admitting basically that he does have feelings, but saying like, I'm really not ready. And the fact that he
Yeah.
didn't suddenly just become okay with it all and ready to
Yeah. I
get in a
like that.
relationship,
Mm.
and it was still kind of like a tension thing right up until the end. Like
Mhm.
that, I liked that.
I liked that. I The only thing about him that I struggled with was everyone was very soundly. I'm like, I don't understand how difficult it would be to rewire my brain once I believed in something because I've not experienced believing in something that strongly.
Yeah,
However, it was the whole him being told that his religion was made up by Readalongs I. It was a load of rubbish, and he still stuck to everything that was part of that. I liked seeing that he was struggling with coming to terms with who he was, but it got to a point at one part where I was like, dude, just let everything else that you are believing
yeah,
in, just let it go. Like, try and come to terms with it a little bit more.
yeah,
The sexuality thing, yeah, cool, fight on that. Like that, I understand a lot more, is a lot more ingrained. But the little things, like, it's not real, dude.
yeah. Like having to like not. I mean, I know not drinking is people don't drink, but it's just stuff
Mm,
like that. Like when you do realize that you were manipulated by somebody, and yeah, like I said, it is horrible.
mm,
And you could tell that slowly he was coming round to certain things,
yeah.
and he was getting more comfortable with Galen being Galen.
Mm.
But I did feel at times Galen was a little bit overly pushy. Like he said he's not
Yeah,
really comfortable, so just chill a bit.
yeah.
Like I know
He
you're
doesn't
attracted
want
to
to
him,
Netflix
but
and chill. Like, can we just leave him alone, please?
just let him come round in his own time.
Yeah,
Um,
and Shaloran being like, but he likes you. I'm like, but that's not enough.
yeah. So
There's
oh
a lot
yeah,
more
so
going on.
he spent his whole life thinking this one thing, and like
And now that one
that
thing is not real, and it's just like, well,
yeah, it's coming to terms with that, and
typical.
also the world might end. So
Oh yeah.
clearly priorities. He has his
Do I?
priorities
Don't
straight.
I? Shall I? Shan't I? Either way,
Um,
I'm doomed.
so yeah, she was hilarious.
Hmm.
I did like how do you say it? Serene. Um, her and Devashar.
Oh, I loved that. As someone who doesn't like relationships, I bloody loved theirs. Like, it was just so nice. And the whole realization towards the end of, I'm pretty sure it was her, and she was like, this guy actually means a lot to me, and I would actually care if things didn't
Yeah,
work out and he wasn't there. I was like, oh,
but the thing is, that wasn't a sudden I'm in love with you situation. It
yeah,
was very
very
much
slow burn.
yeah, and it was very much a case of
Yeah.
oh shit, like I've not been in love with someone before, and I
Mhm.
don't know if this is like in love, but I care about this person a lot. I might need to
Mhm.
unpack that when the world's not ending, but I really
I might
would
need to
care.
unpack that.
I really
That
would
is some
care if this
carry on
guy was.
luggage.
um, but and the conversation that um Dervisha had was like, oh, some guy was teasing, and he was like, "Look, if she wants to kiss me, she'll kiss me, and she does. She doesn't. She doesn't. And whether
Oh
she does or
yeah,
she doesn't is her choice. We're not here to
yeah,
discuss this." I was like, "Oh my god, yes, yes! Like
yeah,
you've got your brain on straight.
yeah.
Like you're
And
not
when
on about
she came in after he went to save Theron, was it Theron? Um, and ended up being battered by the other mimic, and she comes in to obviously save him, and he's just like,
oh,
"Is that you, Senare? That's her name." Well, that's how they
Cinerary.
said it on my audiobook.
Yeah,
And
Cinerary.
he's just like, are you here?"
Oh, that was
And
just so
yeah,
cute.
and
Like,
she's like, "It's actually me," and I was like, "Oh."
yeah, their whole thing. That was
Mm.
more. I mean, I do get it that like, yeah, it was just that was more of a relationship you would expect to see in a situation where the world is potentially being destroyed by
Yeah.
one being with ultimate power that can't control himself. Um,
Mhm.
so it's like, there may be feelings, but we'll deal with that at a later stage. But
Mm.
just so you know, I do care about you, and don't die on me. Like,
Please don't die.
um, yeah.
Yeah,
Feel
I
as the books
agree.
go on, there was a lot of feminine coded things attached to Truth.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was like, he's just as masked as he was in the first book, or he
yeah,
should be.
yeah. I think it would be a little bit because he was so adamant that he was never going to do that. If they did
Mm.
do if they do like a sequel novella or whatever, and he ended up doing that, I'd be disappointed. I would like to have seen like
Yeah,
you know in the future
sticking to
where
his guns rather than being worn
yeah,
down.
yeah, I would love to have seen like maybe 10 years on where him and Kieran are still together. Well, I'm just forgetting
Raising
Janelle
Janelle's
exists now.
child.
Yeah, raising Janelle's child because Janelle died. But like, yeah, so they're still together, and Therese is still a man. Like,
Mm.
that would be like something that I would read.
Yeah.
And it would have been nice to sort of see maybe like at the end of this. But
Mm. Can we also talk about how Janelle goes through a lot of trauma and is still pregnant?
yes, I was gonna come to
How?
that. I don't like that.
How?
I don't like
No.
that.
She dies and then comes back, but she dies.
Yeah, yeah. I don't. That was one thing I do not like. For one, I don't like accidental pregnancies anyway. Um,
I don't like the pregnancy show. I'm not
I
fussed. No,
accidental
I don't like
pregnancies
it.
annoy me, and it's just kind of like it. Yeah, that I don't like them. Um,
Hmm.
so the fact that she did all this, and yeah, great, she was going to keep the baby and blah blah blah, but yeah, she died. Like,
Yeah, so fetus should die too. Not that I'm saying we should be killing off our unborn child. However, fantasy is fantastical. I get that, but logically, that wouldn't
yeah,
happen. You know?
yeah, yeah. I
So,
mean, again, no stakes. Like, she still went into
yeah,
battle, and even though she's like, yeah, I want to keep the baby and whatnot, she still
yeah,
had no consideration for the fact that she was pregnant.
yeah. There was
It
no
was
real mention of it, if I'm honest. Like
no,
it
other than
wasn't
to her
like,
mum, to his mum, be
yeah,
like, oh yeah, yeah, I'm gonna have a child, another one with her because he had one with her in a past life that's now a dragon. Um,
yeah. This isn't our first kid together. Well,
yeah,
dragons don't count. Let's be honest.
it's an abomination. Um, but yeah, that's one of the storylines I didn't like, and it could have
Mm,
it serves no purpose to the overall
yeah,
plot. If it served a purpose, and this child was gonna make sure that you know the world didn't wasn't destroyed or whatever, it was something. If it was,
yeah.
even though it's a bit of a chosen one trope thing, but it could
I
have
don't
been
mind the
something like
chosen
that.
one trope.
But the baby, I want to sound so heartless. The baby was inconsequential. Didn't need
No, I
to.
agree.
It didn't need to have. It wasn't like Kieran took a throne of some kind and needed an heir, and that is what the purpose of the baby will be now, to be his heir. Because Therese didn't
Like
take
Simba.
Therese didn't take the throne anyway. Gave it away. So there's gonna be
Yeah.
no sort of like kingdom to take over or anything like that when the baby
Mm,
grows up. So
yeah.
that was a bit of, again, no stakes. If she'd have come
No.
back, but then the baby had died, I'd have been like, well, that again, fantasy is fantasy, but that's a
Yeah, I agree.
consequence of a war. Like, they should a war this big and this
Yeah.
epic and this
Yeah.
important should have had more overall deaths with like no returns.
Yeah. They didn't.
It didn't. Um, it is a very intricate series.
Oh, good.
History and magical systems, yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
Yeah, I would recommend it, and it sounds like we're not recommending it, but it's just there's
I
just
would
certain
recommend it.
I
It's a
would
really
recommend.
good series, but I just feel as though it was one of those things where I was expecting it to go left and it went right, and it didn't all ed up, add up to what I wanted. I'm more
Yeah,
than happy for authors to not follow my plan because it's not my book, but
this
at
is
the
not
same
acceptable.
time, yeah, how dare you write your own book and not follow what I'm thinking in my head? Um, but logic, like fantasy is very illogical. I get that, but there has to be an element of logic, and I just feel that a lot of the things that we've mentioned today shouldn't have happened because
Yeah,
if they happened differently, I reckon this book would have been a 5 stars, and I would have been more emotionally attached. And I am very short on the emotional attachment to books. I get that, but at the same time,
I'm
I
not.
would. But I think that's also a good thing why it's me, you, and Kate that do this because I'm quite cynical and you guys are quite fluffy, you know?
But I get really attached to characters and really emotional very easily.
Hmm.
So the fact that in a whole series of 5 books, I think I've cried. Did I cry in the first one? Don't know if I cried in the first one, but I've maybe cried
I don't
once or
think there's
twice.
anything to cry at in the first one.
No, I think I've only cried once at this then when Darren died.
Hmm.
Um, and like so some traumatic things happen. Um,
Yeah,
and
but a lot of it is fixed.
normally, yeah, and normally I'd be like really upset when like I should have cried when Yvonne died because she was a good character,
And
but
she was in it for a good chunk of time as well.
yeah, so normally I'd become attached to them, but I think because yeah, the only person I was really attached to that I would have
Hmm.
been really upset if they had died dead. Two
Dead, dead, dead.
actually, Kieran and Therese. At the end of
Yeah.
it, I wanted both of them to be alive. I
Well,
would
I
have
was
been
kind of
upset.
expecting Kieran to die
Oh,
just because
really?
of the whole. Well, yeah, because they were saying the whole him and Volkaroff thing, him being a split part of the soul, and that, and I was thinking that they would try everything they could. This is what I mean by Jen not taking my thoughts into account. Like, how rude. I was thinking that they would try everything they could, and at the last possible minute, the only thing that would save the world would be him to die. That is what I thought. But I didn't think when I got to the point where him and Relos were fighting, and he got imbued with all 8 things. That was when I was like, "You're not gonna die." Like I can just tell that that's not the way we're gonna go because this
Yeah.
is very dramatic, and I didn't expect it to be that dramatic, if that makes sense. Like I
Yeah.
expected it to be a bit more of a I don't want to go, but I have to go kind of a deal, rather than a oh look at all this power, I'm just exploding.
Yeah.
So I kind of got an idea that it wasn't going to happen, but I feel like if that had happened, I would have felt one more justified, like more payoff, and two, I would have definitely been more emotional because it would have been more of a sacrificial kind of thing rather
Yeah.
than we're going to blow up the bad guy.
Yeah. But
So
from very early on, I thought because her, Therese, and Janelle were constantly battling about all being involved in the fights and all like him not wandering
yeah,
off by himself and thinking he had to shoulder all the burden and that kind of thing. In
mm,
my mind, it was always either going to be Therese or Janelle that would step in it and sacrifice themselves at the last minute.
yeah,
Um, in my mind, I really didn't think no, I want Kieran to die, like
mm,
completely dead die. Um, so when Janelle did that thing at the end with the changing of the ritual,
yeah,
and making it the demons die, like if she'd have left it at that,
mm,
then that would have been for me. That would have been a good ending. That would have been a justified ending. Yeah, him and Therese would have been heartbroken for losing someone that they love, but
yeah,
it's a war. It's
Yeah.
not a little war either. It's a big war.
No, it's a really big war, and it's like you said earlier. There should have been more casualties, and there weren't. And I think that is a really big part of. I feel a little bit cheated in that sense. Not that I want everyone to die dead, but I would like, you know, people die in war, whether it's in fantasy or unfortunately real life, and that's what makes that element a little more like it brings that emotional and believable element into it, which is what makes you attached. You just don't have it.
Yeah, yeah. And I think because I, in the back of my mind, I was like, they're always going to be erected, not resurrected.
There's
Um,
gonna be what?
I was like, they're always going to be resurrected.
What
Um,
series are you reading?
I just didn't. I didn't feel the emotional attachment to some characters that you feel
Mm,
like you should, because effectively, if you're going to kill them and bring them back and kill them and bring them back, or whatever, they seem a bit like throwaway characters rather than
yeah.
important people. So then you
Mhm.
just detach from them, like with Therese and Kieran.
Yeah.
Um, like Therese didn't did die, did he? He got
No.
almost like hurt quite a lot actually.
Mm,
And it was more the emotional things for Therese. He was consistently like worried about
bastard.
Janelle and Kieran,
Yeah.
and just
I also
yeah.
feel like Therese was the only one that really, like, realised that Janelle was pregnant.
Everyone else
You
was just throw her in front of a dragon, throw her in front of whatever. Like, just, she can fight this.
wanna you wanna jump off that building? Go for it. You've got this.
Fuck the baby inside you. It doesn't matter. You can dead. You
You'll
can die
bounce.
and come back to
You'll be
life.
fine.
We'll just resurrect you both. Um,
Yeah, you won't die. Mm,
um. To be fair, since I took a step back from reviewing, I decided to just read books for the enjoyment I have. I find I can still criticize a book, but still have a 5-star feeling. Yeah,
I agree with that. But
I
to
agree with
me,
that.
the way my 5 stars are, my 5 stars are either something that get me emotional because it's very rare, and or a book that once I finish it, not that I go into a slump, but it's something that I can't stop thinking about
Yeah.
because you're still processing. That to me is a 5 star. And for this one, I just kind of closed the book and went, it's done. Next.
Yeah.
and,
So
and I
yeah.
think it was just not even that it was a 5 book series. Like I think it was more the fact that it didn't pan out how I thought it was going to, and also like you said, I wasn't emotionally attached to any of the characters, so I didn't feel like I had to breathe through any loss.
Yeah.
And we didn't lose anyone because they all just came back.
Yeah. Yeah. I think for me, it like books 1, 3, and 4 gave me that five
Mm,
star feeling. They were like left me on the edge of my seat. I was like, holy shit, what's going on? I have no idea this is gonna end.
yeah.
It gave me a feeling of like anticipation, and I was just like, I really just need to get book 5. I need to know what
Mhm.
happens. And I had in my head who I wanted to survive, or I had in my head how I wanted it to go. Like I said, the intricate weaving of the plot from and bringing all these different threads, still leaving some to your imagination, like what happened, but for the most
Mhm.
part, bringing everything to a good close was was great. Obviously, but at the end of it, I was a bit kind of like you. Was like, well, the epic battle scene that should have been like the main thing. Obviously, there was a battle between the dragons, and then how he was controlling the dragons, and then that whole thing
Yeah.
was great. Like that was one big scene that was just like thumbs up. That's brilliant. But I think thinking about it, I really needed the Relos part and that scene to be more of a thing, a
More
massive
evil.
rather than yeah.
Yeah.
Did it only went over like it only went over like a chapter or two, didn't it? Like out of the whole book, it
Yeah. It
wasn't
wasn't that long, to be fair, and it.
with all this build up for this big plan that
Yeah.
they had. It was over
Yeah.
in like a couple of pages, and I was just
Mm.
nah, no. So yeah.
Nah. No.
So, if Jen could just go back in and add a couple more thousand words, for this battle scene at the end between Milospar and Kirin, and it could get
Yeah.
5 stars. Just go in, just
Yeah.
insert them in the middle. It's fine.
Yeah. If there was just a bit more of that.
And the tension
Um,
build up, and Janelle not come back to life. Maybe.
yeah.
Not that,
Yeah,
but the thing
yeah,
is, I realised as well, it was
yeah.
the Janelle book that got a 4 star from me when we first met Janelle in book 2.
Oh yeah, but that was
And
because
we,
she was annoying as heck.
yeah, to be fair, she was still annoying in the rest of the series, when you think
Yeah,
about it.
but
She was,
because we all said, I'm pretty sure, after the second book, if the third book featured just Janelle, we
yeah,
would not be enjoying the rest of it,
yeah, no,
which I think is still the case.
yeah. She was
I
my least
like
favourite.
the sprinkling of Janelle in the rest of the series rather than the all on her thing.
Yeah.
She's
And
not my favorite.
I do like that we got Senere and Derbyshire and we got other people's perspectives as
Yeah, we had
well.
a lot of chapters, like a lot of perspectives in the chapters. Sorry.
But and then because of that, like Derbyshire, I probably say my top three.
Mm.
Top three, yeah, top three will be Kieran, Derbyshire, and Therese,
Yeah.
with Senere being a close fourth.
Mm.
But and to say that they weren't really the main, well, obviously Kieran and Therese were, but Derbyshire and Senere were not really
Mm.
supposed to be the main characters. Obviously, they narrate this one, but um, they have a bigger impact. I would have been more upset if
Mm.
Derbyshire or Senere died. I know that they couldn't have done because they were like recounting this book. It would have been pretty weird if they were from the afterlife just telling you about what happened. But
Yeah.
it'd have had more of an impact if they'd have died dead,
Yeah, I
than
agree.
someone like Janelle or even Giovanna. Anyone,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's just one of them, isn't it? Really.
For ages I couldn't figure out what side Corn was on. To be honest, I didn't think
I
he
don't even
even
think I
knew.
do know. Couldn't tell
No,
you. But
I
I
think he.
also I got to a point where I was like, I just don't care where you fall because I think that was actually another excuse me, pretty not emotional thing, but I liked how at the end of the second book he was with Janelle and then all of a sudden he wasn't. I liked that
Yeah,
kind of betrayal element. And then I thought
yeah,
it was going to be more of a let's win them back, let's that sort of thing. But he didn't really have a redemption arc with Janelle, in my opinion. I liked
yeah,
seeing him and Galen,
yeah,
or Garland, and that kind of you don't know what I've done, but you're a nice person kind of a thing. But I would have liked to see more of a redemption arc with him and Janelle
yeah.
because all
It
of a
was
sudden in the
never really
last book
discussed.
they're all together, they're working together. He betrayed you. Why are you even trusting him? You know?
Yeah, yeah, that was never really addressed or discussed. It was kind of like they were together and like they were this really good friendship. He betrayed them, then came back to the fold, but they
mm,
were both doing their separate things with their group of people, like him,
yeah,
Shalorian and Galen, and then Therese, Janelle, and Kieran, obviously sprinkled with everyone else. But it was
yeah,
never like, and again, if they'd have sat down in the middle of an epic war and had like a massive deep conversation, it would have been a bit weird. But they didn't actually have any kind of conversation and being like,
no,
I'm sorry, for betraying you. Like, I know that I was wrong,
yeah,
sort of thing. Even if it was just like a little moment that they had, I'd have been like, cool, this needs to
yeah. It
happen.
didn't have to be a massive thing, but a couple of pages would have been nice. But
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
at where we're at.
Um, I also really appreciate Shalari
Yeah.
for being the biggest beard in the
Well, to
world.
be fair,
Yeah.
Garland was the biggest beard as well because she liked girls and he liked blokes. It worked very well.
Yes, it did. And again, I really liked the fact that she did that and she didn't make it where Galen was just using her as his
Yeah,
beard and she was in love with him. I'm glad they
yeah. I
didn't do
like that she
that.
had her own thing and
Yeah,
she
she had
was
her
a
own
badass in
thing.
her own right.
Yeah, they were best friends. They'd gone together. They were fine. That they were just
Yeah,
like, this is literally just so we can please other people and
yeah.
shut them up, so we can just
Well,
move on.
exactly. Yeah,
Like, no, and I agree.
yeah. I agree. He
Derbyshire.
is probably him and Kyenzo are my favorite characters, hands down. And I
Yeah,
wish I had more Kyenzo in my life.
yeah. She was just a savage. She was just like,
Yeah. She knew what she had to get done, and she got it bloody done. That's what I liked.
yeah, yeah, she
Oh,
was just a very independent woman,
yeah.
and zero fucks given, and it was
Mhm.
just, yeah, I liked her character very much. But you
Yeah, it
could
was a
tell
good
that
one.
she did have a massive soft spot for Kieran, and
Yeah.
he was probably the only one that should have been like a little bit soft on, obviously,
Yeah.
other than the kid that she decided to adopt. But
Yeah. Well, she
um,
did adopt him. She just kind of let someone else take care of him. But yeah, I also would have liked to see more of them. I think like the first book was really nice, them on the boat and on the island and stuff, and getting to know each other. That was quite nice, and I liked that it was that kind of like almost mother and son relationship,
yeah,
and it
because
wasn't made weird,
he was
which I would
seriously
have
lacking in the mother
expected.
department. One, to be fair,
Yeah, it was.
she was not a good person, not a good mum. Um,
Mm-mm.
so yeah, that sort of love that she had for him, that was very much, a protective thing.
Mm.
And like you said, it wasn't made weird. Um,
Yeah.
I did really enjoy that, and I kind of liked the fact that she was like the reluctant caregiver to this child at the end. Like you said, she
Mm.
probably just passed it off to a maid to deal with, but um,
Yeah.
yeah, that was a very random thing though. Like the
I think
child
she felt
served no
bad. She
purpose.
was like, well, she put it in Gadrith's way, didn't she? And then she probably felt bad that she put it in Gadrith's way. So no one else was
Yeah,
going to claim the poor bugger. So someone had to look after him.
it was just like this child was introduced specifically as a plot device so that she could trick Cadre. It was a bit strange, but yeah. Um, the only thing that would help him throw him wise is a baby between Teresa and Kieran's, but
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I'm glad it. I don't. Not fully satisfied with the ending, but I'm just like it was okay.
Mm.
But it's the rest of the book, rest of the series that sort of, like I say, it's still gonna be a 5-star series just because of the, like, I've rated 3 5 stars, but it was just a bit. Yeah, it's just a bit sad
Yeah.
really that it's just like a little bit of a missed ending. I don't like
Yeah.
seeing stuff like that because I feel really weird. I mean, it's not negative. 4 stars is still a really good rating, but I feel like, we've gone on this journey for so long
Yeah.
just for it to
I
end
was.
like this, and you're like, oh,
Yeah, I was kind of expecting because the first book was a 5 star. I was kind of expecting that last book to be a 5 star, and
yeah,
like the middly ones to be 4 star. That makes sense for me and my track record. But yeah, no, and it was 4. It's still good. I still enjoyed it. I would still read it again. But it's not my favorite, and I think that's quite sad because I would have liked the last book to be my favorite because it ties everything up instead of introducing everything.
yeah.
But
So what did you
it is
think
what it is.
about the very, very ending when we went into she went into the afterlife and then started to build something in the afterlife?
I thought it was really nice. Well, I voice noted you guys, didn't I? And I said they did something really well.
Yeah,
Because I
I
just liked it, and I liked that Sergio was there. You know, the little comeback because he didn't have a lot of screen time. Bless him.
yeah,
He just he. It was quite nice, and it was quite nice that she had found someone who was close to Kieran as well. Like that's I think that's the bit that I really appreciated.
yeah,
Was but another thing that reason it's my favorite is that I'm glad it was Sergio and not Moira.
yes, yeah,
Purely for the fact that Moira was like a lust
yeah,
thing, but Sergio is his.
raised him.
It's not his biological dad, but it is his dad at the end of the day.
Yeah,
And I thought that was really lovely to kind of like a don't worry, like I know he died a very horrible death, but Sergio's all right, like he's okay.
yeah, and I like the
And I thought
fact
that was quite
that
nice.
what would have been nice is obviously she's now realized obviously she's dead, and she's in the afterlife. So
Hmm,
why not make the afterlife
nicer.
better and a
Yeah.
nice place to be rather than this desolate wasteland of a place that she's
Mhm.
entered into? Which makes more sense than just resurrecting everyone. So I like the
Yeah,
fact
make
that it
the
ended.
afterlife nice, and then they'll
Yeah,
stay there.
yeah, I really like that. So then at least it sort of left the door open for like they're making the afterlife a better place for people, so that they're not just
Hmm.
withering away into and like just yeah, I really enjoyed that
Yeah,
as an ending, as an overall ending.
I
Um,
agree. I thought that was nice.
it was very nice.
Hmm.
Do you have any more thoughts on the book?
I don't think so. Do you
Are you
have any more thoughts?
No, I do
I
want to
try not to
reread
think
it
too
though.
much.
I do want to reread it, and I am gonna like I said, I'm gonna go through and tab and annotate it. Um,
Yeah, I want to reread, but I will not be rereading anytime soon. I will be
no,
rereading a year plus from now, to be honest.
I've got so many books to read.
Yeah, so do I.
It was my least favorite of the series. Yeah, yeah. Um,
No, book two was my least favorite.
yeah, it was Janelle on it.
Hmm.
Um, the least chapter, yeah, the last chapter was so lovely. Yeah, I really,
Mhm.
that was a nice little touch that she put in there, and it sort of
Yeah.
like gave Sergio the ending that he deserved, not the
Yeah,
ending that
poor
we
guy.
got in book one. Like he got the ending he
Yeah.
actually deserved for being a dad and raising Kieran. So
Mm.
yeah, this is our first series, hopefully of many that we're gonna get through.
Oh yes, many. Hopefully, I need
Taking
to. I've got so many things to read.
we do. I'm just writing out my series at the moment that I've got to read, and I'm like,
I
so this
started
is gonna
a series tracker sheet today,
yes,
um, and I'm going through Goodreads, but only as far back as 2020. And then if I've got any other series on there, like Aragon is a perfect example. Aragon, I've not read. I have. I've read the first two books multiple times, but because it's before 2020 and I haven't carried on the series since, it's gone. I need to read that series. That's how I'm working it.
yeah. I've just started my tracker as well, so I'm going through all my shelves to find series, and
Mm. I'm
hopefully,
going through Goodreads to see when I read things and color coding things, and if I touch the series this year, then it will be in my series update at the end of the year. If I didn't, and I read another book next year, then it will be in that series update.
well, hopefully we can get to the inheritance cycle next year if it wins a poll next time round, because it was second on the poll this time round.
Mm.
But I kind of expected Jade City to win. So the beginning of December, we'll be doing the sort of Kagan, however you pronounce it, um, book, and then we'll be taking a
Mhm.
break in December, so there'll be no live
For
show in
Christmas,
Christmas.
it's
Um,
Christmas.
so there'll be no live show in January, but we will back in February to discuss Jade City, the first in the
Yep.
Greenbone saga, which I'm excited for.
Mhm.
Um, because with my new TBR game, I've worked it so that the maximum amount of books I should really be having on my TBR is sort of like 10, really. If
10? Is that
yeah,
it?
yeah, but
Whoa.
I've got 5 roles. One of the
Mm.
roles is going to be my 12 books, 12 prompts. One is going to
Mhm.
be my self-destruct, and then there's 3 for other books. And if my podcast and that book club book stuff fit into that, then I've got
Yeah.
them as extras. So the maximum is going to be like 10.
Mm.
For me, that's I can read 10 in 2 weeks, so I'm good.
You could. Idea just popped. Maybe in January, and don't hold us to this because it might not happen, but instead of doing a live talking about a book, we could do like a live of something.
We
So we still
could.
have a live of every month,
Yes,
be it a sprint or a resolutions chat or something.
I like
We'll
that idea.
brainstorm,
I think that's
but
a good
that way they're
idea.
still alive.
I think that's a good idea, and that would be on Chelsea's channel there. um, will it? No,
No, sort of
that'd be on
Kaigen's
my
on
channel
mine.
because Dark
No, that
Hagen,
would.
yeah.
Oh wait, hang on. Which way? You're that way for me instead of this. I'm putting this way. You're that way. Yeah, it'd be on your channel.
So would really appreciate it if people would join us on the sort of Kagan one as well. I'm looking
I've
forward
started
to
it.
it.
It's confusing. It's just
Another
the
one,
names, really.
another one. But it was voted by the people who follow us, so hopefully they'll actually read it. Um,
Maybe. I don't, hopefully, we'll read it.
uh,
It
I'm
matter
gonna
about
make
anyone else.
I'm gonna make sure that I read my books earlier, which is another thing that I'm going to
Mm.
be doing for next year, and I've realised that if I can buddy read some of the books that I need to get to, I get to them earlier. So like the podcast book and Schwabble books, we're buddy
Yeah.
reading, so that I'm making sure that I'm leaving space for reading all the books that I've got like obligation reads for.
Yeah.
Um, but yes, Emma, I love this. I'm so excited to get to that series, and I know for a fact it's also going to be confusing with the names.
Yeah.
So I'm going to prepare myself. I'm going to make sure I have notes, and I'm going to be making notes of hierarchies and stuff because I know it's going to need. I'm going to need it. But thank you very much for joining. We'll see you all next month on Chelsea's channel to discuss the very confusing Sword of Kagan,
Yeah.
Kagan, and we'll see you all very soon. Bye.
Bye.